It's actually live, but hello everyone, welcome in. Great to have you, great to be back. I've been updating the background. Ooh, ta-da! I had this little guy. He's cute. It's a little bright for this screen. Might try adjusting that here momentarily. Also, I think I added the bear. I think that's new too. Haircut's new. Great to be back. I've been gone all week, been out sledding in the snowy hills. It's been a blast getting to spend time with the family, but I'm super excited. Hi Jesse, great to have you here. And if you have questions, that's what this is. This is office hours. So feel free to bring your questions here today. I've brought myself a little bubbly water to spritzer the mood. I'm gonna turn on the light and see if it makes it a little better. And a little bit better, a little bit. So that's good. Thank you. I'm so glad you like them. I'm doing fantastic. And I have a little notepad here for things that we can talk about. There was a new update Tuesday. That doesn't make sense. Updates should go out on Tuesday, but the update came out today. I'm having a hard time sitting with this, but there's a new update, and we've been waiting for it for like a month. I've been talking about it on the channel, and it is the new in-world purchasing credits thing. So we should check that out. We should go and look and see what that's about. IWP credits thing. Let's go figure out that. And then, hello, Det Bedsty. Great to have you. The other thing that I think we should check out at the very beginning is how to open the desktop editor. Since a lot of people have joined recently, they haven't seen the first video we put out, which was 2 months ago, maybe more. And so there's been questions. I've been getting those almost every day this week. That's a lie. 2 out of 4 days this week, though. That's pretty good. So, wait, no, that's not how you dab. There you go. I know how to dab. I'm a dabber sometimes. Why is the pose gizmo not working in editor mode? It's not actually a pose gizmo is the problem. It's a sitting gizmo. Totally screwed up that first dab. Watching that playback was so cringe. I'm so sorry. The second one, not as bad. Although maybe you think dabbing is cringe. In that case, sorry. But yes, keep the questions coming. We can take a quick look at the pose gizmo for anybody who has that question. Now opening up MetaQuest link. Here we are. You're going to need to make sure to install the update that came out today. You need to have the MetaQuest link app. This is what's used to open the Rift software, so you maybe look Rift software online. Once you get that, you need to install Meta Horizon Worlds. Make sure you're logged in with your MHCP account. If you have not signed up for the MHCP, link is in the description. Once you're logged in with your MHCP account, you'll then have an option here called Start in Desktop Mode from the Library Apps, 3 dots, Start in Desktop Mode. That's going to open up the desktop editor, and like that, we're in. Fantastic. You can't stand up from the sitting pose. You have to press forward, although that might be related to a bug I've recently heard about. So you might be having a bug. I've heard about it. I haven't been in a week. But basically, to get up from the sitting gizmo, you have to press forward on your thumbstick, or if you're on mobile, press the X button in the top right. It is no doubt difficult and not fun. And there's no way to code it out either. All right, so once we're in here, we can go to, I believe I created, no, I did not. I didn't create a specific world for classes. We just had a specific one for office hours that day. Let's create new world, and blank world, custom model import, office hours. Today's date is 2025-01-24. There we are. And create. I do it in that order because the year changes less frequently than the month changes more frequently than that, and the day changes every so often. Oh yeah, let me know if that solves your question, Det. Welcome in. All right, so here we are. Let's I mean, there's so much to look at today. There's the avatar pose gizmo, which is really just a sitting gizmo. Is there a new in-world purchase gizmo? We'll pull that out just real quick and take a peek. I don't think the gizmo is new. I'm pretty sure it's the same gizmo. It's just the creation of this stuff has been improved. Fingers crossed, we'll see momentarily. Here we've got the avatar pose. So let's grab our posing and slide it down. Check it out. Slide that into the ground. There we go. Jump into preview mode. All right. There it is. Okay, so we sit in it, we sit down, totally whack, and then I think you click, yeah, you click escape. It's weird that I don't see the X button, but escape, it's got, no, that didn't work. Oh, maybe it does work, But because I'm in the desktop editor, it closes out of the whole thing. I'm pretty sure that works. But I did see a report that there was a bug. And it looks like they have more poses potentially on the way. That would be exciting. Use custom exit direction. Oh, that's interesting too. Some interesting properties in here I haven't played with yet. Very cool. All right. Can you give me the asset pack you made? The assets are linked in the description. So if you go down there, all the new assets are in the Google Drive. The old assets you're going to find from systems. No, where is it? Assets. So you go to Asset Store, go to Interactive, and then inside of here are the 40 assets that we made. And so here's some of them. They have the pretty cool image with the script gizmo in them. It's a way to know that it's a Vidyuu asset. And we also did the text formatting with help from Pigeon, and lots more from other colleagues. Oh yeah, and you can see, look at, these are all Vidyuu assets right here. So quite a few, quite a few. We had the hyper pencils with help from Hyperjewel. You know, lots of good assets in there. So feel free to check those out. They are already in your asset library. Awesome. Okay, so we've looked at getting into the desktop editor. Now it's time to check out the IWP credit thingy that just launched. Checking AI to see if there's anything new in AI. Does not appear, just checking that out. I'll close out of that now. We're gonna go to, because sometimes they don't announce all the things in the update. So we go to Systems, go to Commerce, go to the Create New Item, and we can give it a name. We're gonna call this Test Item. We can give it a description called Dumb Test lol. Thumbnail, we can select an image. We're gonna make it on fire, confirm. Price. So the price is between 25 and 20,000 credits. So we could try a low one, like 25, that's kind of cool. Item type is a durable. We want to use consumable most frequently. Auto use I recommend. And then we click create. Okay, that's roughly the same process as before. So far, nothing different. We just get a custom input for price, which is great. Now we can hit this button, which is brand new, and we can change the price. That is it. Are you kidding? That's it? We can just change the price? So I can like do 50 and click save. I'm not gonna lie, I hope you're listening, Meta. This isn't good enough. We need to be able to change the name, the description, you know, the picture. Like, I often don't even have the picture at the ready. This is like very difficult. Or maybe we want to update the picture. I don't know. Point is, I don't love this. But it is kind of cool that we can change the price, I guess. That feels like the biggest difference is custom pricing and price changing. Question in the chat. How can I get the assets? By the way, I'm on standalone Quest. So in Quest, you're going to go into the menu, and in the menu, you're going to see the asset menu. And in the asset menu, you'll see the tab called interactive. And then from interactive, you will see all of the assets that we've made. 40 of those are ours. And then there's a bunch of others from other creators. So check out that. You'll see that in VR as well as on the desktop editor. Okay. Keep the questions coming, y'all. Happy to answer any questions today. And we'll jump back over to the camera view. If you've just joined us, welcome in. This is Laex05's office hours. I'm Laex05, by the way. Some people don't know that. I laugh because it's fun. No, everyone has them, sir. I'm so sorry. Try it right now, and I'm gonna show you what it would look like if I had the headset. So I put my headset on. We'd boot up, create my circle, open the Horizon app. Then Horizon would load in front of me. I'd go to edit mode on any world or create a new world. So click. All right, I've loaded into edit mode. I'd pull down on my thumbstick to go into build mode. I'd be in build mode. I'd press the home button or that recessed button right here on the joystick. That's going to open up the little like build menu. In the build menu on the bottom, there's a whole section called assets. In the assets section, you can find a library called interactive. and that's where you're going to find all those Vidyuu assets. But there are tons. There's like over 1,000 assets in there that you can search by name. So if you know the name of the asset you're looking for, like the broom, I think it's, what is it called? No, it's called, but that's why I'd go to interactive, because I don't even remember the names of them, and I made them. So yeah, go to interactive and then just scroll through there, and you'll find something like the flying broomstick. You're going to find a bunch of other flying tools and driving cars. There's the hyper pencils we mentioned for drawing. But yeah, you'll see them all right there on that menu. Okay, it was in my mind. But yeah, give it a shot right now. And if you get stuck at any of those steps, I'll replay that. That's, what do they call that? There's a, I don't know, it was in my mind. Okay, but yeah, everyone's had that for a few years. And if you don't have it, then Horizon is broken, and I'm sorry. They break Horizon every week, so, and I'm allowed to say that now. Sorry if Meta's listening. For those who don't know, I no longer am a mentor officially because they wouldn't allow me to talk about the problems in the product, like the bugs or the issues. And I was like, I can't sign a contract that says I won't talk about the problems, because the problems are like so bad. So I'm doing this instead. I'm teaching on YouTube, which is so much better. So very, very excited to be here. So with that said, keep the questions coming. If you just joined us, you can ask any questions: code blocks, TypeScript, assets, all of those things, and we will answer them here. And let's see. Brain. What I was going to say is, if we don't get any questions, which we don't currently have any, I'm going to do what I think a real-life teacher would do, which I think is kind of funny to say. But basically, I'll go and work on some other projects, and you can just kind of like hang out while I'm working on stuff, and we can learn together on things that I'm already going to work on and do some other stuff. So that's pretty cool. Does everyone have access to them? Yes, everyone has access to them. I literally had to sign a whole contract with Meta to get everyone access to those. It was a big, big ordeal. Yep, so it's pretty cool. Hello, Julian. Great to have you. Thanks for joining. Yeah. But seriously, you should be able to find them, Det. If you're not finding them, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could pull my VR headset out if you really, really need me to, but they should be right there. If you're looking for specific assets, asterisks galore here. The 40 assets were made from the, I'm not even going to lie here, there was over 150 something, maybe even 200 assets that Vidyuu had accumulated at one point as an asset pack. And there's only 40, so we took the best 40 of those and got them out to you guys. You can check them out in VR inside of the Vidyuu Assets worlds. There's one called Vidyuu Park, which has all the like theme park oriented, playful ones. And then there's another one called something Tools. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like that. And you can go play with them in VR without having to go to the asset section and pull them out one at a time, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, didn't get the whole set. They needed to be insanely polished, and there was so much rigor. Meta is a very big company, and big companies have a lot of rules and restrictions, and it was just literally months of my life to get those 40 assets out. Question, Jesse, please ask, please ask. Don't even hesitate. That's what I'm here for. So excited to get to answer it. Okay. Yeah. Although Det does have me wondering if Horizon's broken to the point where assets isn't working, but I'm pretty sure it's there. It better be. I feel like the question's being typed. If we were in Discord, there'd be the ... bubbles, and that's what I'd be waiting for. So I'm going to write down an idea I have for another topic after we're done, which is, I had that video recently go out, and the video, I'll answer that 1 second, Jesse, thank you. The video was about IWP and implementing. At the first hours how to implement it, and I need to implement it in another world that I've already written a lot of code for, and that makes it really difficult. So I was thinking about doing this combining video, combining the code. I'll just write that. I'll know what that means. What is your favorite game in Meta Horizon Worlds? I am partial to a lot of the games I've made. because I made them. So there's a lot of, like Horizon Royale. I love Horizon Royale. I love Murder Manor. Splash is a great time with a good group of friends. Power Wash is always a good one. A lot of addiction there, a lot of fun. Genuinely addicting. I've been clean of Power Wash for about a week, and I might not open the app again to play it. I know I have to work on it. Like, I'm going back to work on it in about a week and a half, so I have to go work on it. But I don't want to. It's so addicting. I literally couldn't put it down. It was so bad. But that doesn't mean it's a good game that I love. It's just like I couldn't stop playing. Weird, wild. The other games I like, I really enjoyed that one where you're in Haunted High, Spy School. I know they're like silly, silly games, but I really enjoyed them. They had a really fun loop. And then there's, some other good classics out there. But that's where I'm going to end that. So the memory error, is it a glitch? No, it's not a glitch, but it's something I wish Meta took a little bit more seriously. So, let's try to imagine this for anybody who doesn't know what memory is. We're just going to talk in like basic terms. So I like props. I don't have props, but let's imagine this square represents all of the RAM, which is random access memory. It's the storage available immediately to your GPU and anything that needs your random access memory. So you've got probably 4-6 gigs maybe on the Quest. I don't know, it might be 8. But that's it, 8 gigabytes. It's not a lot. Every photo takes up about 20 megabytes. If you do video, it's even bigger. And basically, when you load into a world, we need tons of photos, right? All of the textures are photos, so that's stored here. All the 3D models are stored here. And all the avatars are stored here, and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, we pack this memory full of everything. And eventually you run out. And that's a problem. That's a pretty big problem. And so if you put too many 3D models in your world, headset crash. You put too many pictures in your world, crash. You tried to load too many pictures at a time, crash. You only have so much. So memory is definitely a problem. And when you see the error, be cautious. So I'll give you tips on how to avoid getting to that error in a minute. But the first thing you need to know is that as you travel Horizon, it picks up bits of things that it doesn't clear from the memory. So it's supposed to delete memory as it's done using it, but when you travel from world to world, something is being collected. I believe it's related to avatars, so the more people you come into contact with, the more of that data is stored on your RAM, and eventually that causes the headset or the app to crash. Not the headset, but the Horizon app will crash. Okay, so Horizon app crashes, that sucks, it clears the memory, you load back in. Now it becomes a bigger problem if you load into a world like, I'm not even gonna lie, Power Wash. It uses a ton of RAM. It's not a world we've heavily optimized because none of us are really heavily 3D modelers. I'm a coder, Ash is an artist, but that doesn't mean she's like a 3D modeler, like she can't really heavily tweak them. And so at the end of the day, we are running into this limit of the storage on the player's RAM, their random access memory, and that's a problem. So if you come into that world after having visited 10 other worlds and a bunch of other players, you will probably crash in that world, and it sucks. It does. I wish Meta would make it better because it doesn't crash if that's the world you go to and that's the world you hang out in. But if you're hanging out in that world for hours and people join on you continuously and then you crash, that happens too. So how do I recommend avoiding it? And the answer is choosing models and images that are low poly to begin with. So myself and Euphoria are working on a couple worlds, really just one right now. But that world, we're using 3D model packs that we've purchased because Euphoria is a fantastic. If you played any of his worlds, Murder Manor was designed by him, Murder Village is his, of course, and a ton of others that he's made. His ability to put things together and build is just fantastic. Like, if you didn't know this, Murder Manor was built from a house building pack, so it comes with literally squares that are wall tiles and then other like chimneys and things that you just place and you build the whole house. And he built that by hand, putting up the walls and the things, and then you have the inside wall and the outside wall. Anyway, he did a fantastic job. And so we're buying packs like that, but when we go to buy the pack, we're looking for packs that are already designed for low poly. They're designed for mobile, because when we're on a VR headset, that's a mobile chip. And so it needs to be very, very efficient. So lower poly counts, that's the number of triangles inside of a polygon. So every polygon is made up of triangles. The texture sizes are lower. And if you start with really heavily optimized models at the beginning, you're going to be good. There are models out there you can get off the internet for free that will crash your world just with that one model. So that's the biggest thing to be watchful for. I'd say models between 200 and 1,000 verts are kind of like ideal. Anything above that, you've got to be careful. Anything below that is awesome. Good job. You found something really cool that looks good and works. Your images, the texture sizes, those are also a huge one to be careful of. You want to stick to 1K or smaller. Only use like a 2K if you have text in it. I don't know when you'd want to use a 4K, maybe for a skybox. Our worlds are designed to have maximum of 2.5 4K images. And so if we think about this being a 4K image, so you can have 2.5, we'll call that 2. Let's just go with the word 2 for now. But if you divide that in 2, you can see 2 4K images, so 4,000 by 4,000. And then you take that 4,000 by 4,000, you divide it again, and you get 2,000 by 2,000, so 4 2,000s. And then you divide that 2,000 in there, and you get another 4 1,000. So you can have 16 per, so that's 32 1K images. But then if you can use 512, so Murder Manor was built out of 512 and 256s. We use 256 textures and 512 textures for almost everything in Murder Manor, except for when there was text involved, in which case we used a 1K or a 2K as needed. Hey, Galactic, great to have you. So I think that's the spiel. I know there's a bunch of other messages to read in the chat, but that's more or less it. Look for the lowest textures and low poly count. But yeah, so definitely you should be worried about the memory glitch. It's not a glitch. It is a very real concern. Added info, it's a primitive world. Oh, primitive worlds, shouldn't be worried. That's, I'll tell you why in a second. I'm in the program at 240%. That's not a problem. Yeah, I wish Meta would take it more seriously. Right now the developers are blaming creators, which it's obviously not creators when you can travel from world to world and crash just by traveling. But the developers, genuinely, this breaks my heart, do not use Horizon. There are very few that actually use the product, and so they don't understand that we hang out in Horizon for 4 to 8 hours sometimes, and we go from world to world to world. Like, we can't have that breaking after 2 hours. It's not great. They don't understand that, and I hope someone's listening and is like, that's a problem. Why don't we not understand that problem? So hopefully someone's listening. But we keep bringing it up. So feel free, if you ever get a chance to talk to Meta, bring it up. Why are primitive worlds okay? Primitive worlds are okay because they use basic shapes. And so basic shapes are replicated. And so the reason primitives are different than custom model import is they're completely different rendering pipelines. So you can't mix custom model import with primitives because the way primitives works is just so different. So you have a cube, right? And you apply a texture. Well, that texture is wrapped around it. You go to custom model import, and custom model import, you have that same cube. The texture isn't just wrapped around it. It is mapped to that cube. It's just mapped in a completely different way that primitives are not done. And so the cube is a repeatable thing. So it knows what cubes are, and it can make hundreds of cubes. You can't do the same thing in custom model import. So in primitives, you can have, and we've done this test on a live stream a few years back, we had 12,000, I'm not kidding you, 12,000 cubes, no lag in primitive world. So they've limited you to 3,000 primitives, but we've proven that if you stuck to just simple primitives, you could get probably 5,000, no problem. But anyway, you're limited to 3,000. Custom model import, the limit is 200, okay? It is so limiting. So, and that's 200 in your view. So if you have a world that you stand in the center, you could have like 50%, half your world has 200, other half has 200, because it's viewed at any given time. Theoretically, primitives could implement something like that too, but we don't worry about that. So, thought is, objects, custom model import, limiting. So in custom model import, you just got to be more careful. You can merge shapes in custom model import. I believe you can double the limits given to us by Horizon. So if they give us a limit of 200, 400 is your real limit. It's especially better, like you can actually do 400 if you use low poly models and low res textures. To Osprey's point in the chat there, 4K really is never, never necessary. The only places it could possibly be warranted in my book would be some really important display that was the world, so something, which is where I said skyboxes, because a skybox in 4K will look fantastic. Now, one thing to think about here, if you have any sort of photo editing tool and you've got a 4K skybox, if you black out the bottom of the skybox where nobody's going to see it, then that black data doesn't take up as much storage space in the 4K image. And so we talk about 4K based on the size of it. The reality, though, is that it's about the actual size of the file itself. So if you do black it out or white it out so that there's no data there, you will then erase information that is then not needing to be stored on your GPU. So 4K, I don't think it's really necessary. I definitely think 256 and 512 is pretty good most of the time, especially in a dark world. If you're building horror themed, 512s are probably good most of the time. 1K is also fantastic. I'll tell you about a thing my friend Laex05 does in a moment. I just want to finish reading through the messages in the chat. Yes, happy Friday! I didn't get to say that. It is a very happy Friday. I would definitely agree it's a headset issue, not a world issue. In primitives, the limits are not as bad, right? So you can go pretty crazy in primitive worlds because they use a simple texture set of like 14 or 16 textures or something like that. And so you don't have the same problem in custom model import where there's 100 textures potentially if you're not careful. Don't do that. Don't do 100 textures. But like you could accidentally have 100 textures in a custom model import world, which would never happen in a primitives world. And that's why primitives is already a lot more optimized just from that standpoint, which is where I was going to mention my friend Laex05, who does something similar but in custom model import. And what he does is he creates what's called, I don't know the word of it, but it's like a style sheet, and basically it's got a bunch of textures on it, and then I don't even know how he does it. I'm gonna have to be like, dude, will you do a tutorial for the channel? But what he does is he does vertex painting, and so he paints the models colors in Blender or whatever tool he's using, and then he applies his black and white texture to that model, and so the textures are just like the textures you have in primitives where you can reuse them over and over and over again on all your models, but then by coloring it, you get a completely new texture. Anyway, it's fantastic. You'll see it in his new world that we're hoping to drop in about 3 days. I'm gonna close my window so those sirens aren't too loud. I'm okay. All right, last question there from Jillian was, we sometimes get the same error when we open a brand new empty world. Oh, that happens because you need to close your headset, turn it off, or no, close the app and then reopen the app. When you close the app and reopen an app, it should refresh your RAM. You might consider restarting your headset. You want to shut it off for 30 seconds, then boot it back on if you're still having it. But yeah, that will happen when entering an empty world because you've been traveling to worlds that have already capped your memory. So yes, it's a Horizon bug that we hope they will fix, but they probably won't. As we are all aware, we just get used to the bugs, and that's okay. Okay. Any more questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. If you've just joined us, welcome. Hey, great to have you. This is my office hours where we hang out. We talk, answer questions, do all that jazz. I drink some fizz to make it fizzalicious, and that didn't roll. But anyway, we're having fun. And that's what I like to do. I like to have some fun. So, if I don't have any questions coming in, we are going to jump into some coding. But I'd love to answer any more questions you have. And I'd love to know if Det ever got those assets. So Det, if you're still here, let me know. Where can you find me? Every week, Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube for 2 hours. This is my Laex05 office hours. I plan to do this every week. And yeah, feel free to join me. And this is my way of getting to help you guys. I used to do this in the Discord. I'm now doing it publicly on YouTube, which is great. I love doing things for the public. So glad we get to do this publicly now. Okay. I am moving my seat down. Here we go. I love Osprey's comment. What bugs? What bugs? There are no bugs in Horizon. This is a bug-free platform. You make me chuckle. Barry says, all software all the time. I mean, anything related to Horizon, probably. I might at some point be willing to talk Unity stuff, but I haven't dived into Unity enough to be able to talk expertly on the topic. But yeah, so we're talking code blocks, we're talking TypeScript, we're talking 3D modeling, we can talk Blender a little bit. We're talking 3D model import is really what I meant. And trying to think what other topics I know pretty well. So, but if I don't know something, I will fully admit to it because no one is perfect. All right, here we are back in our little world here. And I don't use any other platforms, Barry, so unfortunately I can't really talk about them because I don't know them. If I knew them, I would talk about them, but I don't. All right, so I think this is gonna happen. I am so nervous, but yeah, let's do it. So, if you weren't here like 10 minutes ago when we were talking about this, the thing we're doing right now is we're combining the code from the most recent video, that 17-hour behemoth, and some other code I've written. In fact, we're going to be combining a lot of code. The problem is I don't have access to... that's a problem. I need a bunch of stuff, and I don't think they've been created yet. Variable groups, I can't add a new one. It's not going to let me. Wait, what? It says variable group created. There's no way. Did it actually create it, but not add it to the world? Oh, it totally creates it, but it doesn't actually add it. Delete that. Yeah. So I can't actually do anything without Rexrod here, which is always problematic. That is one of the biggest problems with these things. This is the world we're working on. It is gorgeous, and I cannot wait to get to play this with you guys later. We're hoping to launch it in a few days, so I guess I need to go into a different world so that I can do the things that I need to do. Feel free to ask any questions though, y'all. Happy to answer any questions you have while we work on this. This is going to be in this script. I think the scripts are in here. We're still working on the name for this game. I have no idea what we're going to name it. And really do want to work on that. Rex is very heavy on this idea that it's day one, which is something that I'm not as heavy on. Now, part of the problem is there's some bugs in here that I haven't gotten around to fixing yet. But they might have been fixed since last time I was here. I guess we'll go ahead and check it out and see what happens. Clear. Because, like, it wasn't buggy when I first... what is happening here? I don't even know. When I first built it, there weren't any bugs. And then I came back, like, 3 weeks later, and there was just... Like, is anything going to happen? It says there's an outbreak. Stay hidden. If I walk over this guy, you're not it. You're not it. Oh, nope, you're it. They're supposed to follow, and they totally did follow when I first wrote this code, but for whatever reason, they're not following anymore. So I might try working on fixing some of the bugs in this real quick, and then we can see. Okay, they've loaded in. Oh, that walking sound, though. That's new, right? How long has that been there? Is that from the player settings? Did they finally implement this where it actually makes sound? Footsteps volume, footsteps minimum distance, footsteps maximum distance. It's set to 0 though. Did I implement a footstep sound? I don't even remember writing the code for this world, I'm not even gonna lie. This is like tons of code I've written, but I have no idea what it does or how it works. Just one of those things when you don't touch something for a month, you kind of forget. I'll lift this up so it works in a nice way here. All right, so we don't need to care about this. World variable names, simplex noise. I have simplex noise in here. Am I using that? Operators, motion over time, component, color, array, action, Sketching ideas. Need distance haptics. Need steps and breathing sound effect. It sounds like there are step sound effects. Display distance to nearest uninfected to infected players. Need mask or way to identify. Display green hue on heads-up display. Need throwable water item when colliding with player splashes. Okay. Let's figure out why this AI is being weird. NPC avatar test. What do you do? Did I mess you up at some point? I came in here at one point. I might have messed it up. Await nav mesh manager for townsperson. Let's go and look. What did we call this? Navigation. It is called townsperson. We can see that it is routing this whole area nicely. It looks good. Was this one of those things where I just needed to hit the bake button? But I thought I wrote it in the code to bake it. Yeah, right? This.navmesh rebake if navmesh exists. That seems to make sense. So it gets the navmesh, and all that looks good. Then we say start, loop every half second. I am player equals entity as a avatar agent, player.get, loop. If targets.length is greater than 0. Where is our targets? Targets are players. Targets are created when players enters world, so it only adds players to the targets. This all seems fine. Destination position equals target.position.get, so it finds the player at index 0. I am player in this.navmesh, positions, navmesh.getPath, destination position, gets the waypoints, otherwise it gets an array of vector 0, so it does nothing. It must be returning this or something. It must be something. Something's gone wrong, and I just don't know what. Math.random to jump, and as agent locomotion, rotate to... Oh, move 2 positions. No, it seems fine. So it should be moving. Okay. Targets are set when the player enters the world. Is that what these things are running? Are you guys running that script? NPC avatar test, NPC avatar test. Do believe so. That is what this is. Play. This error might be related. Get player forward. Player argument at position 0 does not exist. Hit clear, hit refresh. Sometimes hitting refresh gives us a better result. Preview. Oh, now they're working. Strange. Okay, so those guys are it. 4 out of 5 are infected. Okay, now that I got code working, I feel a little bit better. And now we've all been infected, right? This is the problem I have with these guys, is they overlap. So I'm planning to make it so that only one of them can target at a given time. Okay, so it works as long as I don't just hit play world. That's curious. Hitting play world is when it breaks. And if I jump into preview, it doesn't work. No one's following. So strange. Let's see if we can solve that. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, guys. About anything. All topics are good. Unless it's not Horizon related, in which case I don't know, more likely than not. Although I think last week we did have people asking me about my world viewpoint, so I guess everything is available to ask. We had an error with the pop-up. Cannot show pop-up for player because they don't exist. Okay, so this has got to be related to the fact that these are NPCs entering the world. So exception encountered on get player forward. Player argument 0 does not exist. So we've got player enters world. When do we get the player forward? Over here. Why would we be getting a player forward so early into the world? Does it take half a second to appear? Clear, play, 1. I mean, that could have been half a second. Clear, stop. Is it potentially registering other NPCs as players? But it shouldn't. 4 went off at the same time, and pop-up function went off. so strange. Reggie says, what in the world? How did I just get an ad in the middle of a live? Super annoying. I know. There's no way for me to turn that off either. I tried to turn it off, Reggie. I'm so sorry. That is super annoying. I really did. I really did. I'm sorry about that. YouTube has gotten ad outrageous lately, and I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. I don't pay for premium because I want to know what the user experience is like, and it's been bad the last year. Okay, error executing async callback. Exception encountered running bridge, get player forward. This is happening on the loop, so it probably is waiting the half second. Position 0. Targets should not include that player. Loop is called after half a second. What if we change this to 1500 seconds, 1.5 seconds later? Control save. Are we getting ourselves forwards? Targets forward. We only get forward of target. There's no other forward being gotten. So, clear, stop, play. Oh, okay, that seemed to work. Okay, progress. So it was just they were loading in too fast. So now hitting play again just to verify. Cool. Okay, so the next bug is for showing a pop-up, which is coming from player data entity. Player data entity calls the infection function, which then calls the game state function. So when it assigns an NPC player as infected, it tries to tell them by playing them a pop-up, but you can't play a pop-up for an NPC. And so that's why it's failing. So somehow we need to verify that this player is a player before playing the pop-up. That's happening on the game state function. So if I open up game state functions, hi White Sword, great to have you. Let's check game state function. Where do we play the pop-up? We say play pop-up right here. How can we tell if it's an NPC? Player data for sure has something in it that tells us they're an NPC. There's no way it doesn't, right? So let's go find out about player data and see how we can make sure that has what we're looking for. So player data definition, open in, there we are. We have the name, we have the is cross screens, we have the position, we have the is infected, we have the is AFK. Let's create one more right here, Control C, Control V, called is NPC. There we go, easy enough. And Control save. And now that we have this variable to tell if they're an NPC, we can then make sure to add that, which will be somewhere in here when we're creating this. We're going to get an error. Here it is, return is NPC as, and we're not going to use false. What we need to do is utilize this player. And if we head to the NPC test avatar, you can see how we determine whether or not they are this thing. And so by saying avatar AI agent get gizmo from player, we know that if it is undefined, they are a player, and if it is not undefined, they are an NPC. So we can use this exact same code right here to say if you are not undefined, then we know you are an NPC. So make sure to import that by backspacing the T, retyping the T, and clicking enter. And it needs to know about this player. We have the player here. Why is it upset? Because this player could be undefined, and it does not like that. So we say, you'd use the player question mark, and then afterwards you can do colon false. Oh, wait. If we send undefined, is that because they're an NPC? Is that why we're sending undefined? Is NPC is true? Is that why we have this? Let's find out. Red dot here to remind me to fix it. Let's go call, like, we can find out wherever this create empty player data is by hitting Control C and then going to the search icon here, typing Control V. Now it pulls up all the places where this function is called. And we can then check, here we are, player data entity. When player enters the world, we create an empty player data. Nope. So this should be using even the NPCs will use this same function. And then when we're creating a player data binding, that's the only place where it's undefined. And if this should actually be, this would be for a player. Only players would be looking at this type of stuff, so we want to actually change that to false. Okay. I mean, maybe it is true. I don't know. That's a personal preference. So what this does is it says, player, if it's defined, do the first thing. This is what this question mark means. And so it does the first thing, which I'm going to put in parentheses to make sure it's clear that this is the whole thing that it's doing. And then it says, call avatar AI agent get gizmo from player. And then for that player, if it does not equal undefined, meaning it's returned an entity, not the word undefined, which it returns undefined if there is no entity. So players that are real return undefined, and players that are, anyway, it's complicated, but you get it, I hope. And then if we have passed in undefined, it returns false. All right, good stuff. IsNPC is now set up. There shouldn't be any bugs anywhere else. That now means here in our game state function, we can add this if, parentheses, player data dot IsNPC, and then say if they are not NPC, then we can play pop-up function. Ta-da! Sweet. That's pretty cool. Ah, yes, premium would stop the ads. That's true. But then I wouldn't know what it's like to be a real user, and I'd think everything's fine, and YouTube is this great platform. And honestly, I don't actually believe that. I think they need to lower their ads because they've gotten greedy. It's bad. I've seen videos where I'll see, I don't know, 7 ads in 9 minutes or something crazy. I don't know, maybe it's not that bad, but it's bad. All right, so now we hit stop. We'll go ahead and hit play, and there will be no more errors. Oh, are you kidding me? Did I forget to hit control save? Nope, it's been saved. We have the if not an NPC. I think I forgot the not operator in the player data function. But I don't need a not operator. Okay, let's run through this. Okay, if the player triple equals undefined, then it is a player. So we say if it isn't undefined, then we know that it is an NPC, and that returns true. Why is that not working? Okay, the error is on the show pop-up for player. Is there another place it's trying to play a pop-up for the player? Jeff asks, I wish there was a pure concentrated tutorial that takes intermediate programmers through Horizon scripting with just the facts, no teaching loops and logic, etc. Takes intermediate programmers through the Horizon scripting with just the facts. I mean, I can give it a shot. Tell me some of the things you'd like to learn about, Jeff, and we'll see what we can do. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to quickly look at this, and then we will get to that. So the thought was it calls pop-up from play pop-up, which is on the game state function at line 74. Line 74. And, there was another play pop-up is the problem. So there was this play pop-up. And I guess we need to do this anytime we play a pop-up. You know what we can do? If we go to the play pop-up function, we can pass in a request that it comes with, comma, is NPC, which is a Boolean. And now we're going to require that this be passed in for every play pop-up, which I'll need to copy paste into the rest of this. But then we can say, we don't want to do anything if they are an NPC. So we say if, parentheses, not is NPC, curly braces, and then remove all that up. Nice. And we just need to pass this is NPC into the rest of our functions related to pop-ups, control C. So we have play pop-up, which is called right here. So we need to pass that Boolean in here, comma, and is NPC is passed in, and then here we have the play pop-up after delay, which needs the same thing, which I'll put right here. Now this is going to break a lot of things, so we're going to have to go fix a lot of things. So comma is NPC, and I'm going to do one more of those right here, the comma is NPC. All right, so that's fixed this whole function file to require the is NPC. And now anywhere play popup is called, I can now pass comma player data dot is NPC. And same thing here, comma player data dot is NPC. And now I can remove this, and I never have to think about trying to remember to use that if statement. It's just built into that function. And now I want to see if there's any other places that call play popup. So I'm going to hit Control-C on the play popup. In fact, it's this whole line right here. So well, we'll just look for this. Control-C, back over here, Control-V. And we've got import popup function, no errors in here, because we fixed that one already. And then infection has popup function, and it does have this error. So we need to pass comma player data dot is NPC. And one more down here. Nope, that's it. Okay, cool. We fixed all of that. Nice. Control save, close, close, close. All right. Gotta go ahead and clear and see if that has fixed all the bugs. No more bugs. And play. Yay! Oh gosh, are you kidding me? What is going on now? Did I forget like an exclamation point? It's possible. Player argument 0 does not exist. Popup called from game state function. Line 72. Let's go check popup function first and see, did I just forget? No, it says is not NPC. If not NPC, do that. So let's go to the game state function. Line 72 calls play popup function, passes player data is NPC. Make sure it's in the right order. Is cross screen, then is NPC. Oh, nope, that should work. That should work. What is wrong? I don't know. Go to popup function and see if I'm making sure these are all used correctly. Is cross screen, then is NPC. Is cross screen, then is NPC. Is cross screen, is NPC. That all looks set up right. Show pop-up for player with pop-up options. Let's do just a quick dummy check here. Console.log parentheses is NPC. Control save. Because apparently that function's running, so something's happening. Clear, 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 play. Somehow we did get some trues in here. 3 trues saying it was an NPC. 1 true says it's an NPC. False. I'm gonna have to track those down. All right. I was hoping for more information on that, Jeff. Feel free to anything that you'd like to learn. I'm not fully not exactly sure because I don't come from a programming background, so I can show you like the API and take you through a walkthrough, some quick tricks that might get you going faster. But a little bit of help on what you're looking for would be great. Let me know. Okay, so the interesting thing here is this only happens here where we get the error. We only get the error on this one. We don't get the error on the rest of them. If I hit clear and then hit refresh, there are no errors, and it always returns true, meaning it was an NPC. So we have the 4 where it goes through everybody and says the game is started, and the 1 where it says you are assigned as it. And that seems good. So what is up with these NPCs when I stop and hit play on the world? That's different. It's like I can see them loading in here, so I feel like that's somehow related. And I kind of wonder if I just leave the world and come back if there won't be any errors. Play. False. Is NPC is false, then it gets the error. And then somehow we have this pop-up function go off over and over and over again without any issues. Oh, because they weren't inside of asyncs. So one of these is inside of an async, which is what's causing it to have a problem. Okay. Curious, curious, curious. Stop. I just don't understand why this is false. This says, if not an NPC, if not false. Oh no, I guess it does make sense because it's coming through false, right? But how is it false? How is it false? How is the player not returning an entity? It must have something to do with the world start, reset, stop reset somehow. I don't know if I'm worried about it. It's something I'll have to look at again later. Okay, so let's try and answer Jeff's question without, I don't think Jeff's here, or else he would have said, but I think it's a good question. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look. Maybe you'll see this in the future. All right, so we're going into today's office hours world, and we're going to take a quick peek at some of the things that if you had a programming background might be super useful. And if you've just joined us, welcome, great to have you. I'm Laex05, this is my office hours. You can ask anything, any questions about coding, TypeScript, code blocks, 3D model import, Blender I'm really bad at, but I'll do my best if you ask a question related to it. Oh, Jeff is fast, I asked a question. Okay, let's go. He spends a lot of time scraping through tutorials for actual information I need. I know that I don't know something, but I don't know where to look. Okay. Jeff, have you done any code blocks, or is you just like jumping into Horizon from like Unity background or something? But do you have code block experience at all? The online Horizon World tutorials are basic, and so are the YouTube videos. Yes, I am trying to teach people who don't have a coding background for the most part. It is kind of expected that if you have a coding background, you're going to use the documentation more often, which is what I'm about to show you as much as I can. There's a bunch I'm not allowed to show you, so I'll tell you where to go, but I can't actually sign you in and show you. But the code blocks background is a big question, because if you have a code blocks background, there is a very specific document that would be very helpful for you to have. But if you don't have a code blocks background, I think there's like a 30-second delay on this live feed, so that kind of stinks. I'll take a sip of my fizz. Oh, I'm thinking pizza for dinner tonight. Pizza or hamburgers? Haven't really decided. Kind of leaning towards pizza because it's fast and I don't have to do the cooking. Whereas the hamburgers I gotta cook. We're at 1 hour in, so we've got another hour left of office hours, so feel free to bring your questions. I will write them down. Anytime I don't have questions, I'm planning to just do my work, my job, like what I would normally do if I wasn't doing a live stream. So you get to see like a behind the scenes of kind of process and stuff, which you have 17 hours of with the last video that was posted, but on the current project, I guess it's kind of cool to see. While we're waiting for Jeff, I didn't get an answer on that, if you've used code blocks or not. Maybe you don't know what code blocks is, which would be a no. Code blocks is what Horizon was originally built on. TypeScript is brand new, relatively. So if you've only got TypeScript, that could be problematic and difficult, but that's okay. Oh, I wanted to look at this and see if there was anything new on it. There is nothing new on it. It is still the same properties. Okay, delete. Okay, so you're in the desktop editor. Let's imagine that, Jeff. And you go to the scripts drop down. The first thing you're going to do is create a new script. It doesn't need to be anything. You just call it test, call it hello world, whatever you want to call it, then press enter. It's going to create the script. 3 dots, open external editor. That's going to bring you up to VS Code. Now here on the left, this is where I want you to go. You're going to have, we'll click allow, and then we're going to click on the types drop down here on the left. And that's going to give you access to the entire API. And this is what I use when I want to learn something. So I go to Horizon Core and say I want to learn about, I don't know, let's say pop-up. So I search pop-up, and I know pop-ups exist, but I don't know how they're used, let's say, which is true a year ago when I was first using pop-ups. And here I can see, okay, here's pop-up message, here's pop-up options. And I'm like, okay, pop-up options give you position, font size, font color, background color, all the same things that we knew from code blocks. So that's great. We got default pop-up options. We've got some interesting stuff here not related to pop-ups, but okay. We could continue going through all 28 of these, but I'm like, pop-up options means it's going to be related to pop-ups. So like as a coder, I know that this type is going to be used in the pop-up, so I'm going to copy that and paste it. And now I've only got 6 things to go through, so I got pop-up options here and here. And then we'll go down to the next one, and next one, and we can see that's where default pop-up options is. All right, here we go, we found it. Show pop-up for everyone. So we can see it takes a partial of pop-up options, and then we've got, this is inside of the user interface, IUI. And so we got show pop-up for everyone, show pop-up for player. We can see how to use it, what properties it has. And we can then go to IUI and figure out where the heck is this IUI. So we hit Control-C, Control-V, and now we can find IUI is hidden inside of UI. And if we scroll up through here, we'll find that UI is inside of another folder called World. And then we need to figure out where World is from. So we hit Control-C and then Control-V. And here we can see too many options for World. So I'm just going to tell you where it is. Ideally, you'll have known. So if we're in test and we go to start, let's imagine we have something like player enter world, which receives a player parameter, player colon player, and then enter to get the player, and then curly braces. We could then call world, which you'll see is right there, which we'll click enter on, and then we've got dot show or dot UI, and then dot show pop-up for everyone, show pop-up for player. Kind of curious about this show tooltip. I haven't played with that yet. Very curious to try that one out. But anyway, so we got show pop-up for player, parentheses, and then we'd pass in the player parameter. And the text that we want to show would be like, hello world. And then we need to know the time, so that's in seconds, 3 seconds. And then the options is just going to be an empty, and we won't do anything inside of there. And semicolon, okay. So now we got our player enter world, and we should like create a player enter world. So we do something like pre-start, which is where we do all of our event connections, and we need to connect the player enter world event. So we say connect code block event, this dot entity, all entities receive player enter world and player exit world events. So we then connect from the code block events list, the event for player enter world, and then we can connect that. And honestly, my preferred way of doing this, I should not show this in a video, player enter world dot bind parentheses this. This is my way of doing it. This is the way that everyone did it. It's so much easier, it's so much faster, but because it leads to errors for newbies early on with local events, anyone using event systems, which I don't recommend using, but assuming you do, the way I'm supposed to teach it and the way that we've agreed, we've all agreed in the community that we're gonna do is this way, where you do parentheses, player, parentheses, and then arrow function, curly braces, and then we call player enter world, and then parentheses player. And that is a little bit more tedious to type out, Shift-Alt-F to reformat, but it'll produce less bugs later on. So anyway, that's going to play a pop-up when a player enters the world that says hello world. So clear and play, clear, clear, preview, and oh, I forgot to attach the script to something. I was like, so we go into our empty object, pull out like a manager object, which we'll call test manager, and then we'll attach the script. And then I like to move all my empty objects to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. There we go. And then stop, play, preview. Hello world, there it is. And then using pop-up options, we could adjust that to make it, you know, more player specific and all that good stuff. And so that's like how I basically get around, you know, things that you're still learning. It'd be like hello, and then you would do plus player dot name dot get parentheses. This is just a format that you're going to have to get used to, this dot get and dot set. Obviously, we can't set a player's name, but when you're in this player dropdown, we'll backspace that for a second, you get a drop down for all the things you can get from a player, like their ID, their foot position, rotation, forward, jump speed, is in build mode, is grounded, right hand, head, all of that stuff. Anyway, there's a lot of information in there. So using the dot drop down is a great way to learn about all the properties. Like even inside of dot world, you'd do like dot and you'd see, oh, there's leaderboards. Oh, there's persistent storage. And then there's user interface. There's all sorts of things. So that's typically how I recommend learning. Let me know what you think there, Jeff. The next website I would send to you is going to be the Learn website, which is the documentation. And I need to log in to be able to see it. You'll also have to log in with your MHCP account to see it, which is why I'm not allowed to show it to the public. But once you're here, I'm going to go to a specific area that I think is a great place to start. We have community tutorials and this one, Control C. And so there's a lot of tutorials out there. There's a link to it. You'll actually have to log in to be able to see it. That whole website is very poor documentation. Like, I hate to say documentation's poor, but it's just not the greatest documentation on the planet. So there we go. We got hello Vidyuu. But it is what we've got. We've all had to manage with it. You can ask questions here every week on Friday for things that you're trying to figure out how to do, but you haven't figured out yet. Happy to show you anything there. If you're still learning TypeScript, I feel like most of it's learning the Horizon API, to be honest. Mine isn't working either, Jeff. You need to report a bug. I have the same bug as you. They were totally gaslighting me too. I hate to say this. I feel like I'm vindicated? I don't think that's the right word. Validated? Validated. Because I don't have the mentor job, so I can say shit about meta now. But like, they totally were trying to gaslight me, and like, they're like, it totally works. There's nothing wrong with it. And I'm like, I searched, and it's bad. It doesn't provide any results. So you need to go into the Discord and then create a private bug and be like, I can't use search. Search isn't working. Because yeah, I have the same bug. I can't find insert angry, upset words there. You know, like I really can't. And it's so frustrating. So yeah, totally feel that. And unfortunately, the documentation is also disjointed, because why wouldn't it be? Welcome to Horizon. This is like, if you're a developer who's coming from Unity, which I haven't heard anything to say if you've got a background in Horizon or not, I would not recommend coming to Horizon. I'd stay in Unity. And I hate to say that, but like the truth is this platform is so still early days, early development. Like there's benefits of like, you don't have to pay for server hosting, you get multiplayer right out of the box, you get a lot of basic building tools, but then you're like, also that's a downside because now you have basic building tools, you don't get like shaders and other things. So yeah, anyway, I'm not sure what your background is, but if anyone listening has a Unity background, I would stay in Unity and use the meta blocks. Look up meta blocks. They are blocks that you can drag and drop into Unity that give you multiplayer. They give you like the audio systems and a bunch of other stuff like right out of the box that we have in Horizon. And if your background is Unity, it'll be like way easier than Horizon probably. Anyway. But yeah, so you'll have to create a bug report in the MHCP Discord about the fact that your account doesn't have search access. I don't know how they messed this up, because you're not the only one. It's not just me, it's not just you. There's a group of us that don't have good search, and it stinks. So it is what it is. All right. What were we looking at next? So we were working on this script. Oh, and I was going to show you one more place to look for things. So APIs, those are not the only ones. You go to the gear icon, API, you can turn on all of these APIs. Each of these is going to create a type folder, and then you can read about those APIs. And if you like to do that, you can totally do that. So that's what I like to do. So you can go to the user interface, which is for custom UI, which is confusing after we just came from UI. But then you've also got Unity asset bundles, which is a type of NPCs. And then you have avatars, which is another type of NPCs. Then you've got camera and capturing, and these are for your camera controls for your VR, like your mobile players, and then capturing is for capturing what your player sees. Nav mesh is for nav mesh, which is like NPC locomotion and stuff. which works better for Unity asset bundles, but not so good for AI agents. And if you come from Unity, you'll be disappointed to learn that we only have these Unity asset bundles. We don't have any other Unity asset bundles. We got these 8, 9. It's really sad. It's really sad. And you can't make your own or bring them in. Let's see. But anyway, you can go into any of these. World streaming is for, what is that for? Oh, that's for like asset spawning. It's a type of asset spawning that's different. I haven't done a lot on it, but I'm learning more and more. Yeah, lots to learn. I wish I could search the API document too, otherwise I'm manually doing a depth first search. Yeah, I hear you there. There is an API website. Let's see if I can find it. I don't think I can show it on screen, I'm afraid, so I'll just show you my face while we look for it. And this was what I used early on. Jeff, I do need that answer. Have you used code blocks before? Maybe you don't know what code blocks are. Maybe I should show them. Horizon Hub. Because if you do, I can show you some really great documentation. Okay, let me sign into my Horizon Hub account. And this is not meta sanctioned. This is by Wafflecopters. And this is what code blocks looks like. So if you've never seen this before, let me know. If you have seen this before, also let me know. Would be very helpful to know if this is something you're familiar with. But this is code blocks. This is what we used to use before TypeScript. I would not recommend learning this. If you are just coming to Horizon, you should learn TypeScript because code blocks is not something they're really developing anymore. It's definitely becoming a relic every passing month or year. But inside of here, we have a thing called, where is it? Guides, TypeScript to code blocks. And this shows you each code block as its TypeScript form, which is super useful. And I have downloaded this as a PDF onto my computer. If you don't have access to this, you can tag Wafflecopters inside of the MHCP and ask to get an account created so you can access the horizonhub.info website and get access to all of these great things. So, yeah. Let's read the chat here. Let me go back over to the, move this around, back into its position. Got some more chat messages coming in. Yes, I use them. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that would really help. So I would definitely get access to Horizon Hub so that you can utilize that guide. I found that super duper helpful when I was getting started to find things. It was a lot faster. And then there was, oh, I'm supposed to open up camera. I guess I failed to do that. I clicked on the wrong button perhaps. Hello. Okay, so there was an API website and I haven't touched it in probably 9 to 10 months. It's been so long. But there was this API website from forever ago. I don't even know if it still exists. Could I get there via the developer learn website? I don't know. Let's see. Not seeing it in this drop down here. Search for API. Dun, 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 dun. Custom input API. API reference. No, there really isn't anything in here, I don't think. I was hoping for external links. Oh, here it is, API reference. Okay, so horizon.meta.com, resources scripting API. I don't think I can share this with you, but I can send the link. Let me see if it opens in incognito. Shift, Control, New, Control V, and nope, it doesn't work in incognito. So I can't show it to you publicly, but what this has is all the different APIs. You can click on them, you can search them. Try it out right now, Jeff, and let me know if that works better for you. I used it a little bit when I was getting started, but I don't have a coding background, so I found it very difficult. I was very confused. I probably understand it today, now that I've learned everything. Not everything, but I've learned a lot. Like if I go into UI, we can see animated binding, bindings, easing, image sources. And if I click on image source, let's see what that says. It says export, declare class image source, methods from texture asset, and represents the source of an image to be used in an image component. Okay, gets an image based on a texture asset. I feel like this is kind of unhelpful. I asked them to put like examples in here, but I don't know. Like I said, the documentation is kind of SHIT. I'm going to spell out things now that I have a daughter. Um, but anyway, I click on image source. It says from texture asset. So image source dot from texture asset returns an image source from a texture asset. Like I feel like that makes some sense. But I definitely find this pretty hard to use if you don't already know what you're doing. So I prefer examples, which I guess would be the next thing I'd show you. And we got another question in the chat. Excited to check that out. White Sword, thanks for asking. Give me 1 second here. If we go to the creation home here on the desktop editor, there are a lot of example worlds, and I don't love them, but you can go in here and select a tutorial world, and that can be really helpful to see some examples and then dive into the code and see how it's done. I call this, I've got a silly name for it. I forgot what I call it. It's like excavation. What do you call people who search at dinosaurs? Archaeologists. You have to be like an archaeologist because you're like digging and it's painful because you don't know what you're looking at and there's so much to comb through. I don't recommend doing that, but if that's your only option, I've done it in the past to try and figure things out when I couldn't find any other reference or information, and it will get you through, but I mean, it's bad. So definitely pushing harder for better documentation, but right now the best I can do to help is just these office hours on Fridays, and then I'm making as many tutorials as I can. And I know, Jeff, they are bad in terms of like digging through. If you sent me a DM, I'm Laex05 on Discord, with everything you'd want in a video that you think would help get you started, please do. Like, I'd be very interested to see what you think would make a really good developer quick start guide, and information that would be helpful. And I might very well do that. I could really see myself doing it. So please do. AI texture generator working for you. Let's go see. Off we go. I feel like it goes down regularly. So, like regularly, White Sword, I'll just see it disappear and it just won't be there. So that might be it. All right, console, clear. AI is there for me. Heading to, oh, the picture generator is gone. Texture generator is gone. So if you know what? Now that I think about it, I looked at this and it just didn't click. At the very beginning of this video, I clicked on AI because I want to see if there's any new AI tools, and it wasn't there. So yeah, texture generator has not been there for the last hour. No idea why. Yeah, so. Yeah. But typically, I see this stuff go offline, and it usually comes back. I'm assuming there's some server that's overloaded or whatever. Like, let's imagine for a second that we're all one big MHCP cohort. There's like 2,000 of us, and we are given 1,000 images a day. And then you got one guy going wild, and he's been there all day. He's done like 200 images, and then there's the rest of us who've used like the other 800 up, and then they're gone. We're done. We're out of images. I don't know. Like that's a theory. I have no idea what's actually happening. Yeah, I mean, it could be out for a whole day. It could be out for a week. I don't really know. I would comment on it in the MHCP Discord in the general chat or a bug, but this has been pretty normal, so I don't know that I would I would flag it as a bug, even though it feels like just normal part of the process. Like, we just don't have access. When they're finished building it, I expect it's a paid tool for MHCP creators, right? Like, we have to pay $50 a month to get access to AI generation tools. Like, they have to pay for their tools at some point, I imagine. So, and I come from where Adobe tools cost $50 a month, so I imagine it would be pretty expensive. You're that guy. You're the guy. It was White Sword. All right, guys. Everybody be upset. It was White Sword. No biggie, dude. No biggie. Yeah, so I don't know what happened there, but that's my guess. I'm sure it's just some sort of token count we've gone over, or maybe they're using the servers for something else. All right, so if anybody has any other questions, feel free to ask. We just worked on some like basic test script in here, and I might go into my other world to look at other scripts. So feel free to ask questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to be working on a project I've been working on. So we'll just multitask here. Multitasking is fine. Because you might see something in this world I'm working on that either helps you or brings up a question. And so, Jeff, this is a great time to ask a question about something you're trying to build that you've been struggling to figure out how to do. I'd be happy to assist in any way I can. Feel free to utilize me. And that goes for everyone here. I'm happy to help. I'll be here every Friday, same time. That's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern for roughly 2 hours. And happy to answer any questions you got. Okay, so we've got these townspeople, and there's a few things that I want to do with them. And I'm pretty sure if I hit play, it's going to bug out. Which has been driving me nuts, but I don't think anything's broken. Maybe something is broken. Oh, I don't really know what to do. It drives me nuts. Because it's calling this pop-up function, like this could be the error, right? Because if I hit clear and hit refresh, there's no issues. It just works. So it has to do with this stopping and playing the world. So I gotta figure this out. I feel like we did everything we could possibly do. So what I was thinking of doing second, oh yeah, no worries, Jeff, you're good. Maybe next week. What I'm thinking we could possibly do is load these avatars later. Load avatars later. So the problem is I'm just afraid to bring, so if you were here earlier, I'm afraid to bring in the code when this isn't really ready and there's like some bugs. Like I don't want to make more bugs than there already are. So I want to like get this into a place where I can actually bring the code in. Load avatars late. So instead of using, you'll see on here we have spawn on start, we can turn this off. And I haven't really done this yet, but this is probably way safer too. And so we'll load these after like a delay. Clear. And dun, 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 dun. We go to our, close out of this, scripts, avatar, test, open an external editor. We're gonna have to rename this at some point since they're not gonna be test avatars for much longer. So we need to figure out how to load an avatar in. We'll go to our types, go down to avatar AI agent, and then we're going to read this file to see how do we call the spawn in. And I also want to know despawning. Let's see, is grounded, move to position, rotate, stop movement, jump, entity, grab, drop. Get grabbed entity, that's interesting. Get gizmo from player, spawn agent player. Here it is, despawn agent player. Pass in, oh, it doesn't, it's just a part of the agent player. So agent player has, no, that's not right. What are these? These are inside of the avatar AI agent class inside of this AI agent gizmo. So here on start, we set that up right here as agent player.get. So I am a player. Oh no, that is a player. Interesting. This dot entity as avatar AI agent. I will look at your question in just a second. There, White. Sorry, let me finish my brain. My brain's processing. Nav mesh is a nav mesh. Manager is a manager. Avatar entity as avatar AI agent. Is that what we're looking at? Avatar AI agent. We are. So we have this avatar AI agent. IAM player equals agent player.get. Is this the problem? No, this can't be the problem. Start says IAM player, this dot entity as our get agent get player. It's trying to get the player before the player is here. We actually get the player right here. Right? No, we don't actually. We should do that down here. When the asset spawns in is when we should get the player. So we say constant NPC gizmo equals, and then Control X, Control V. So then NPC gizmo is either an entity or undefined. So we say if the NPC gizmo is undefined, else it is defined, and then we say if, I guess that would be an else if. We'd say else if, parentheses, NPC gizmo triple equals this dot entity. So if the NPC gizmo is self, then we set my player. What was it called? It was called something. Let's see, what was it? I am a player. I am a player equals player. Okay, so that's how we define the player when the player enters the world, which means we don't need this. I don't think that's what was causing the break. It's not on an async, but there's no reason to do that. Okay. So now we have this loop running. If there are targets, so if this .targets.length is greater than 0, ampersand, ampersand, I am a player is defined, meaning we do have a thing available. Then we can do all this stuff. And then we should probably save this avatar AI agent somewhere. So let's duplicate this, Control C, Control V, and just rename this as avatar AI agent, which would be an avatar AI agent or undefined. And then we will at world start define this. We might be able to define it right there. Let's see, Control C. Can I put that right here? Equals Control V. This feels like it might run too early, but maybe it works. Okay, so avatar AI agent is an avatar AI agent. And then down here we can just call avatar AI agent and then paste this everywhere we were doing this long lengthy thing. Control V, Control V, and okay, that all looks good. So then what we want to do is say on world start, we're going to cause the delay to go off. Oh, you know what? This async might, with this IM player, can go back to 500 milliseconds because we're verifying that the player has spawned in. So that seems okay. Now we're going to do one more async here. Async dot set timeout, parentheses. And then we want to call an arrow function because I'm going to do this just right here in line. And then comma, and the delay will be 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds that is. And then right here we're going to call this .avatar agent .spawn agent player, which will spawn the player. And then we could try despawning it, which let's imagine we want to be able to despawn this. That would mean we need to do this again, Control C, and say if Control C. So if the NPC is this dot entity, then IM player is back to undefined because the player has just exited the world. So that will allow us to despawn the player as needed, or despawn this NPC as needed rather. Okay, so now NPCs should spawn in after a 2-second delay. Pretty cool. Okay, clear. And we'll see how that works. Failed to instantiate component. Okay, so that was probably because this can't happen late. So Control C, change that back to avatar AI agent or undefined, and then, why are you unhappy? Oh, this must be a colon. Okay, colon, and then we're gonna go to our start, and then say right here at the very beginning of the world, avatar AI agent equals that, which I need to make that lowercase. That's a this dot avatar AI agent. Okay, give that some space, and then because there's a delay here, this could be undefined, so we're just going to add question marks all over the place, which means if for some reason this goes back to being undefined, none of this code will run, which is problematic to say the least, but that should never happen, so we should be good. Control save, give that a second, clear. Okay, let me go ahead and check the questions. Whitesword says, I have a question. So the other day I was trying to use a script that you wrote for the trapdoor, and when I tried to import into Horizon Worlds, I got a bunch of red wigglies lines under it, which was odd because I saw you use it and write it. Let's go back and look and see why. Yeah, I'd be happy to take a look at that. Okay, play. Okay, well, we're getting errors. Oh, that's interesting. That is close to what I'd like it to do, but not really. Clear, refresh. What in the world? So refreshing and it does what I expect it to do. Stopping and playing, it does something unexpected. Because we're getting these errors, these async callback errors on the pop-up function and player data functions. It's because the players are coming in and it thinks they're real players, but they're not real players. I need another way to determine if they're NPCs is my guess. Which just kind of like is probably the problem. So I need some other way to determine if they're NPCs, because this method doesn't seem to be reliable. Let me just write that down. So that didn't work. We say determine if NPCs, question mark. We'll come back to that. All right, Whitesword, let's go check it out. Closing. And remember, if you just joined us, this is Laex05's office hours. You can ask any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. And we're back here every Friday. La-di-da-di-da. Office hours. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. I'm trying to remember how the trapdoor worked. So I have some suspicions, and I'll try to show you what I think could have happened. Going into here. But if you happen to have it up right now, if you could take a screenshot of that and then maybe send it to me as a DM on Discord. Yeah, I think a screenshot's going to be better though, so I can see clearly. Or maybe upload the file. I assume it's the same file. Okay, here we are in the world. Go to the script that we're using is... Wait, this isn't the trapdoor world. Oh, wrong world. I did it again. I'm so sorry. I have too many worlds. I should pay more attention. I'm just looking. I'm like, that's a date. Office hours, 117. There we are. Oh, that's fair. That's totally fair. Great idea, Jeff. Thank you. All right, so we got our trapdoor here. And the script having errors is interesting. Because, yeah, I mean, like I said, that's interesting. So here's a trapdoor. It knows about the trigger. And it knows about the falling cube. So all of that should be fine. We're running the trapdoor script. 3 dots, trapdoor. Open an external editor. Here we go. Ah, he was driving. Jeff, don't text while driving. It's just hit me that the reason you weren't responding to my questions is because you were driving. And I'm like, no! Unless you have a self-driving car, in which case it's mildly more okay. Okay, so here's the script. I'm gonna go open up Discord and see if you've sent me the screenshot. Discord, and I do not see that. That's okay. Looking in here, I would suspect the issue is because of this. This is what I expect is the issue. Is that what it looks like, Whitesword? Oh, good. I'm glad you parked it. Thank you. I feel better already. But I also kind of felt bad because I was like, dude, are you even here? I was very confused for a little bit. But I suspect this is your issue, Jeff, or excuse me, White Sword, where basically the top line is missing, which would give you red lines all over the place. Okay, so you just need to import everything. Now, you can just copy and paste that line back in. You know, you can bring that back. Or you can go manually backspace the T, retype the T, click enter, backspace the S, retype the S, click enter, backspace the S, retype the S, click enter, backspace the Y, retype the Y, click enter, backspace the R, retype the R, click enter, backspace the R, and then you're good. Like, that's one way to fix it. I imagine I'm going to see your screenshot coming in soon. Oh boy, that's so funny. The MHCP support bot just closed a bunch of my tickets that were never fixed. But it's okay. I'm just going to ignore it and pretend like I care. I do care. It just hurts. It hurts so bad. I should be seeing a message from White Sword soon, but that should be the answer. Also, welcome in if you've just joined us. Great to have you. I'm Laex05. We are doing office hours for another 30 minutes, so excited to get to answer any questions you have. Feel free to drop them in the chat. Code blocks, TypeScript, custom model import. I don't really do 3D modeling, but we could look at Blender if you have some questions in there. All that good stuff. Just go into Discord real quick. Oh man, today would be my normal chiropractor day, but I was driving all morning. Ah, there it is. So I'm like, it's kind of sad. Okay, so here's the script. He doesn't have Horizon Core. Somehow you're running an old version of TypeScript where you don't have Horizon Core, it looks like. You could try deleting the whole first line and then redoing it all. Maybe it's in the wrong folder. Let's look. It's in Desktop Horizon Worlds. Ah, yeah. You need to put it inside of a Horizon Worlds folder. Does that make sense, White Sword? Like, so like this folder has the types folder in it. Because it has the types folder, it has Horizon Core. The folder you have it in on your desktop doesn't have access to that, so it's like confused. So you want to make sure to like go into Horizon Worlds and then hit the 3 dots icon here and click Open Scripts folder in Explorer, and then move it into an actual world and then try that out. Okay, I'm assuming that means no, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, if we open those scripts on just like our desktop, it will be missing the types folder, which defines what those types are and how they work. And yeah, so otherwise you get a bunch of red errors because it doesn't know what those things are. Okay, cool. Let me know if you're still having trouble with that. We can come back to it if you are. Okie dokie. I think we're going to... Hey, welcome in, Bethany. Great to have you. We're going to head back to our other world and continue. Feel free to ask any questions you have, Bethany. I am still taking all the questions. And while we are waiting for our next question to come in, I'm working on a script over in this other world where we're trying to determine which of our players are NPCs. And it's been a bit of a dilemma. But I think we've got a good idea here that we're going to try using. And at this time, I'm going to change the name of our function from test entity to give this a good name. Rename NPC avatar. We're going to call this NPC avatar player, because it's really just a player. It's a pretend player. NPC avatar player entity. Sure, that makes sense. But these go on the gizmo. Maybe I should put it on the gizmo. What are these called? These gizmos are called, let's see, gizmos. They are called NPC gizmos. Is there a better name in there somewhere? NPC player? NPC avatar? Maybe it's, I'm like really trying to come up with a good name. I'm really bad at the naming thing. I'm thinking, what do we call this? NPC underscore avatar. Avatar player? NPC avatar entity. Avatar gizmo? Okay. Entity really does mean it's an entity, but maybe saying it's a gizmo will help define it better. Okay, I like that. A couple questions have come in. I have been gone before Laex. Oh my goodness. Well, it's great to have you back. When you do have a question, I'll be here every Friday. Vuho Tries says, I know TypeScript is easier to work with to get things to happen, but code blocks are just so much cleaner to look at. But I figure the more I watch, the more I'll get acclimated. Absolutely. Totally agree. Feel free to ask another question, Jesse. Go for it. Let's see. What can I say, Vuho, that'll help you? Code blocks definitely have this kind of like rhythm that I feel like we all got to know. And man, is it taken me a year to get out of that rhythm. I mean, I'm still in that rhythm. I can still write code blocks if I need to. And I do quite often, not for myself, but to help students. But I would highly recommend making a world. It doesn't have to be one that you want to do good with, just a fun play world that is entirely in TypeScript, and start with things that are just functional, like a effect goes off. Maybe it's just a play world, you know, where things, you can do things. It could be an escape room. Escape rooms are difficult to do right, but that's why it's fun. You know, you could build and the reason I say escape rooms is because escape rooms are all about action-reaction. A player puts an item somewhere, it causes something to happen. A player grabs an item, it causes something to happen. Like, it's all about these actions, which are really like this foundation of learning the TypeScript API. And the question came in, was there a Laex04? Which is hysterical. I'll tell you a funny story, Osprey, and feel free to continue asking a follow-up question, Vuho. This was my actual username, and it was my Netflix username. And then I came to Horizon, and this was already taken. Somebody already had this, Laex. And it was like, because I wanted to make sure that the X was pronounced X. So I had a 5 to be like S. So no, the 4 would never have made sense. It was always supposed to be sounded out. But then I was like, oh, 5, whatever. I don't know. All right, another question has come in. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Queen. Do you have any idea how motion pictures are done? I saw a world that had them, and I'd love to learn it. Oh, it's Angie D. Great to have you, Angie. Yeah, sure. I can show you a quick little bit of that. Let's go back to our classroom. Jesse, feel free to ask. I am awaiting your question. Let's go to office hours for today. There we are. And we'll go and make a quick little movie. I would say like a movie is important definition. Important to define it as like a movie. So, first thing we're going to do is create a script. We're going to go to Gizmos, go to Custom UI, and we're going to zero this out, 0, 0, 0. We're going to scale it up to 2, 2, 2. I'm going to slide it over a little bit. Boop, and boop. All right, that should be off by 180 degrees if I'm not mistaken, so type 180 on the Y to get that right. Okay, so now this is going to be our, we'll call it Neon Cat. Okay, just as our example here. And so now that we've got our Neon Cat custom UI gizmo, we can go create our little movie. So we'll call this movie underscore entity, 3 dots, open an external editor. Why can people only spawn an NPC on computer and not on VR? I hate to share this with you, Jesse. The developers at Meta do not use the VR editor anymore. And so the VR editor has completely lost all of the features, and it really sucks. I 100% agree it sucks. It is the worst. But it is the reality we have to live in. And so I've, over the last year, completely 100% migrated to using the desktop editor. I will go into VR once a month to do video, like editing worlds, and it's only because of like the placement is a lot easier in VR. Genuinely, it's bad, but that's where we have to be, unfortunately, is on the desktop editor. So it stinks, but it's the way of the future, I'm afraid. Okay, so custom UI is built from a UI component. So we rename this component to UI component. And a UI component needs to know about the image. So we have to define a few things. And the first thing that happens in the world, like before the world is even started, it calls initialize UI. And then it calls pre-start. And then it calls start. And so I like to put these in here so we can see what's actually happening. Now initialize UI needs a UI node, and we want to display an image that fills the whole space. So we're going to start by creating an image. And so we're going to say return image, and then parentheses, and then it needs properties of the image, which is inside of a curly braces. And none of this is easy. You like have to do it over and over again to remember it, but eventually you get there. And so then we need to know the source of that image. So we type source, colon, and this is where we put the image source. Now we want this to be able to change, so we have to create what's called a binding. And so we're going to call this our moving image binding. And I'm just going to actually name it image binding, and then call it equals new binding. This is of type image source, and then parentheses, it needs a default image source. And so the way to create an image source is to do, I believe it's image source dot from texture asset parentheses, and then we need to create an asset. And if you go to your assets folder, you can create an asset by going to, let me see if I can find it. Search for neon. Neon cat should be in here somewhere. You gonna show me where you're at? No. It might be an archive. Neon frames should be in here. Neon frames. There it is. Okay, so here's the frames for Neon Cat, and then we'll go find 01, which is the first image in the series, and then we got the asset ID right here, which we can copy. We then need to create a asset, which can be done by typing new asset, and this is just something I've had to memorize, and then parentheses. It now needs to be a big int, so we say big int parentheses. Maybe it's, I might have this backwards. I think it's new big int, and then asset. Nope, it is new asset, and then big int parentheses. Okay, I haven't memorized it well enough. And then I got an extra set of parentheses there, so we'll clear that out. So it says new asset from big int, which is then a texture asset, so then it spawns that in, and then this source is set to be the image binding, and that is going to create our first default image. And because this is an image binding, we can actually swap the image out, which we'll do in a moment. But let's first make sure it works by attaching the script, movie entity, and then we'll go ahead and hit play. And I'm on the wrong side. Something else go wrong? Maybe I need to say width 100% probably. Let's go change the style properties. So right below this, we'll type style, and then we need to say curly braces, width, colon, 100%, comma, height, colon, 100%. Might need to change it to like a fill property or something. I'm trying to remember what we did. It's in the video. There's a whole like tutorial video on this on the channel. It's like how to display an image using custom UI. There it is. There's our Neon Cat, frame 1. Nice. All right, so now that we got that set up, there's a few questions in the chat I just wanted to quickly look at while we're doing this. Do you see all the new VFX this week? I have not. That sounds amazing. There are a lot of VFX. I didn't realize there were new ones this week. That is super exciting. So go to VFX. We can check those out. Magic. Let's see. Burst, explode, vanish. These will be fun to use. I love effects. Can't wait to get to play with those. Thanks for letting me know. We're going to have to look into those. Vidyuu says, the first stuff I learned in code blocks was that, in fact, player enters trigger when player grabs object or firing a projectile. I'll try that. Yes, exactly. You're exactly right. That's the type of stuff you're going to want to start with, and then boom, you'll be on your roll. Do you see all the new VFX? Thank you so much for that. That's my problem this whole time. Ah, so great, White Sword. Glad that's working now. Jeff says, didn't you do a Neon Cat tutorial on this? I did. It's on that tutorial website. And yes, I did. But it's not publicly available to the internet, so this is the first time I've shown this tutorial available to the internet. So that's cool. And I'm doing it differently this time, so that's cool too. Now we need to know about the frames of this image, and I recommend having the ability to change this by using a property on the properties panel. So we're going to have, we'll call this 1 colon, no, that's a terrible name. So we'll call this I1 colon curly braces type colon prop types dot asset. There we go. And then Control C, Control V, Control V. And we're going to create, I don't know, 10 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Control C, Control V, 9 and 10. There we go. Okay, and Control Save. Let's check and see on our assets back in Neon Frames how many there actually are. Neon Frames has 11 frames to make it perfect. So we'll go to 11. All right, one more. Control C, Control V, and there we go. All right, so now we got those 11 frames set up. We need to create an array of those frames, and we need to know the current index. So we're going to say current index equals 0, because we start at 0. And then we need to know the array of assets. So we're going to say assets, which are really just need to be image source. So like we honestly need an image source array. So let's create a image sources, and then that's going to be of type image source array, which then equals an empty array. So we got this default set up, and then by default it's that first frame that we set up here, and then down here under pre-start we can load these assets into the image sources. And so we're going to say image source dot push dot parentheses, and then we need to do image source dot from texture asset parentheses, and then props dot I1, perfect. And so then semicolon. Problem is we need to do an if parentheses props dot I1. Now we could just duplicate these lines of code, but that's not the coder way of doing things. So what we want to do is say create a custom method, which we'll call add to image sources parentheses, and then we need to know the texture to add, which will be either a asset or undefined, and then curly braces, and then we can copy this line of code here, Control C, Control V, and then we want to check the texture, so we're going to replace this with texture, Control V, and then replace this with texture. So we say if the texture is defined, then we can create the image source from the texture and add it to the image sources. And so then right here we just need to call add to image sources with parentheses props dot I1, and then we can get rid of these 3 lines, and then we can duplicate that for each of the 10 lines, Control C, and then we'll go through them all, 1, 2, and I actually think going up from the bottom is faster, so you go 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and we already did this line, Control X. All right. There we go. 1 through 11 has been added in pre-start, and then in start we can now call a loop. So we're going to create a looping method, which is going to update the image binding. And so we're going to start the loop in start. So we call async dot set interval parentheses, and then the thing we want to call is the loop. So we say parentheses, we're going to use an arrow function for the same reason we mentioned before. Loop parentheses, and then I like semicolon inside a semicolon there, and then we need to add a comma after this, and then the duration, which should also be a property in the properties panel. So Control C, Control V, which we're going to call duration in milliseconds, which will be type number, which will have a default, and we'll go and say comma default colon of 100 milliseconds, so 10 times per second. And then we can use that right here by typing props, oops, Control Z, props with an S, dot duration milliseconds. And now that will start the loop up, and that loop will run forever. Now I've heard some issues. People have reported that after running this loop this fast forever, it causes some issues. So be wary. I'm not sure to what extent you can actually pull this off. You might need to stop it and pause it and stuff, but I've never gotten to that point, so I haven't seen it be an issue. Okay, the last thing here we need to do is update the index. So we say current index plus plus, and then we say image sources, or excuse me, what is it? Image source binding, image binding dot set parentheses, and we call image sources, and then square brackets, and then current index. And then what we want to do is find out if this index is within valid. So we say if parentheses current index is greater than or equal to image sources dot length. And if that happens, we need to set current index back to 0, and that will reset it for us. And so now that loop is going to update the binding, so that'll make the image go, and that's it. Okay, I'll get this script uploaded in the thing in just a minute, and then we're going to wrap. But we should be good. Go ahead and, oh, we need to reference them on the properties panel. So go over here and then reference all the frames, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and so you can have a bunch of different videos. Now you do need to be careful with the other thing we said earlier in this video about how the number of images in a world can cause lag, and so this is something to be wary of. I would not take this more than 10 or 20 frames, and I wouldn't do more than a few of these in a world. Like even a few I'd be a little cautious about. If you use lower quality images, that will help a lot. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, we're good to go. Go ahead and hit play. And there it goes. That took a second to load in smoothly, but, ooh, start flicker warning right here, guys. I don't know why it's flickering. There must be an image that's not loaded correctly. It's working. No, I really don't know. That's weird. The flickering's super weird. That is really concerning. I don't think it's us. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, is it because we're updating the binding too frequently? You're not supposed to update bindings this fast. Let's change it to yeah, that's what it is. Oh, that's totally what it is. You can't use a custom UI for this type of animation. Like, it works if you do slow, I guess. I'll send you the link to the other video. Yeah, I mean, that's better. But it's not great. Okay. Let me go grab the other tutorial. That's on the Learn website. You'll need to be logged in with your MHCP account to be able to see the Learn website. And I'm gonna go find inside of this dropdown, looking for community tutorials and images and adding texture animation. This is the original one that we were referring to. So feel free to check that out. And then I'm also going to upload the script that we just did over here. But yeah, this one unfortunately doesn't work as well as the original. The original is on a thing that needs to have a texture displayed, but this one doesn't. I guess there's a way we can fix this. You know what? Oh no, there isn't. How can we fix this? Oh, there is a way. I have an idea. Okay. Brain. We hit Control C. We're going to copy this thing here, enter this down, return a view that contains two images. So we're creating a view that has a background image that is always the previous image. So we say view, and then this view is going to have both images in it. So it needs to have children. So we say children is square brackets, comma, style needs to be this same style where it uses 100%. So Control C, Control V, need a colon there. And then inside the children, we need these two images. We're going to Control X, Control V, add a comma here, Control V again, change that back to a comma, clear out these extra spaces. Okay, and then we've got two images, but they're going to stack on top of each other. But to put them behind each other, we need to change the position method to absolute. And then that will make sure that they're stacked on top of each other, Control C, Control V. And then to make sure that these are separate, we need to have an image binding for the front and the back. So we hit Control C, Control V, and so we'll call this image binding back. And then the top image is the background. So this is the image binding back. And then this is the regular image binding, Control Save. And then down here, this image binding back is going to be set at the beginning before we update the current index. So before we update current index, image binding back is always set. Ooh, but it needs to be set out of sync. Otherwise, they're going to flash at the same time. They need to be set out of sync. Oh, so we need a second loop. Okay, so we say loop back, parentheses, curly braces, and then we'll also need a delay. I can figure that out and start. Okay, so loop back is going to do this, and that needs to happen right before the loop goes off. And then to make that happen right before the loop goes off, we need to say async dot set timeout. Oops, Control C. Set timeout, and then parentheses, arrow function, curly braces, and this is going to happen after half of the duration milliseconds. So we take default back down to 100 milliseconds, change this to props dot duration milliseconds divided by 2. Just in case there's an issue, we'll try math.floor, and then that should make it a whole number. And now what we want to do inside of that, after that timeout delay of half the duration, we then want to call the same loop. So we hit Control C, Control V, Shift Alt F to reformat, backspace the extra line, and then call loop back. So this one will run out of sync, and it also needs to start, well, I guess it doesn't need to, but we'll just call it instantly here because otherwise it starts afterwards. We want it to start beforehand. And Control Save. Okay. So now loop back, we'll get the back image updated with the current index, and that should have something behind it at all times. Yeah, let's see if that works. Okay, and console, you done, console? Looks like you are. Hitting play. It's smoother. Because it's a see-through image, you kind of get this little bit of a flicker sometimes with the background showing. If it wasn't transparent, we wouldn't get that sort of copy overlay happening. It's not bad. It's definitely better. And if you were using solid images rather than transparent images, it would be even better. Okay. Cool. I feel better about that. So that's the script I'll be sending you guys. Definitely don't do frame for frame shot of Star Wars. Yes. Birds VFX has bats and birds. Interesting. I need to update some worlds with this. Yeah, you definitely. Those sound amazing. Need a 15 change script. I don't know what that means. But yeah, I think we've done it, guys. We are at time, I'm afraid. I think we covered just about everything. We didn't go back and use Jeff's idea for the avatars, but that's totally fine. I'll do that on my own. I'll be back next Friday to do some more. I'm going to, very last minute here, go to drive.google.com and upload that asset for you guys. So go to Vidyuu Assets. If you haven't gone to this before, it's in the link in the description. I need to switch over to my business account so I can upload to this. Okay, back to Vidyuu Assets. We then have a folder called Office Hours, where I'm going to create a new folder for today's date, which will have all the scripts we worked on today, 2025-01-24, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go. And we've got last week's scripts as well. And then we're going to go to Scripts, 3 dots, open, reveal in File Explorer. There we go. Okie dokie, jump into Scripts, and we've got these two here, Movie and Test. So those are the scripts going up to the internet today. Let's go get that folder open, drag and drop those in. Nicely done. All right, those are available immediately. So if you're watching this after the fact, you'll see them there too. Okie dokie. I don't think there's anything else, but thank you guys so much. I will catch you in the next one. Oh, right, I'm supposed to show my face and say bye. Let me find it. Bye. Thank you guys. Till next Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours every Friday, except for holidays and other days that I decided to take off, but you'll see the live stream. I've already scheduled next week's. I'm debating clicking the button now or waiting a second. I think I'm going to wait 2 more seconds. 3, 2, 1.